Today is May 20th, 2023. Early Saturday this morning. Last night, I played the video of Dave saying it wasn't him in my apartment. It's part of the protected custody case. And we even talk about him and Jack having this plan since March. And I said, he said, March. I said, that's when we put our house up for sale. He's like, no, it isn't. I said, yeah, it is. It's when we put our house up for sale. See, this is the whole point. I bet this was Dave's initiation into this gang. To prove that he really didn't want me. That he would let them videotape me unaware in our home. Photoshop scenes. Sex traffic videos of me and him in bed. That he really didn't care about me. And that he let that man break in and drug me and rape me. To prove he didn't care. Because why would those young girls want Dave? He was 60 plus years old. He's old enough to be their grandfather. But for him to prove that he didn't want me, he let them do all those vile crimes to me. They're not admissible. You could, the Fourth Amendment over the House. You have the right of the people. All the people of the United States of America. You have a right to be safe and secure within your own person, your places, your homes, your personal effects and papers, against unreasonable searches and seizures, shall not be violated. Now, were they allowed in my home? No. No, it's like my one friend that worked at the prosecutor's office. I heard of this one weird case. He said there was this Muslim man. He found out some officer was surveillancing him in his home. He went to a judge. And he said that judge told him that man had a right to privacy. You knew better than being in his home. I could never look or listen. Mm-hmm. And he can sue you for this. Yeah, these people can go to jail for stalking me. Dave hiring a stalker. I'd like to know why he's not in jail. My one friend that worked at the prosecutor that said that. Okay. He's like, duh, the police better arrest him for his admission. See, it gets going down to that agent could not have known about Pete and Dave's scam. Because then he knew I was being raped. He knew I was getting beat. He knew I was being drugged and told to say stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he was part of this, and he was going to embezzle the money from the funds. And I told you, I bet he's been in jail since 18. I worked at a bank, and one time years ago, and this one branch needed help. And I said, well, I can go work, and the regional's like, you're not going near that bank. I'm like, why? I do really well. He said, I know you do. You're not going near that bank. About 2 weeks later, they went down and arrested some lady for stealing. He said he had been watching her for a while, getting all the different people who she had been stealing from. They got up the evidence and then went in and arrested her. Mm-hmm. See, that's where I wonder where you can't open an informant program with money, diplomatic immunity, have a cop talk to Dave, which is requirements of the Department of Justice to be in somebody's home. Police and agencies can only be in a home monitoring somebody under a protective light case with statements. There's nothing else. All the police will tell you what they did is illegal and they can't look or listen. They did it in a home. Okay? So, that's where I wonder with Will stealing the money. He didn't dispense it. He did not pull me out. He just let it run. That's where the last time in 18, well, she seen that guy. You tell those police up there to get a hold of it. We're busy. They were too busy looking into it. They were too busy to look into it. Then they should have pulled me out. They should have given me my money, put me in a different witness protection program, took my statement, and just moved me. See, if he knew about Dave, then he knew I was being drugged, beat, raped, human trafficked. And he knew they were framing me before. And he did this to defraud me and the government. Then it makes you wonder how many other people he was defrauding. And it's going to be like where I worked at the bank. They get enough evidence, they just go and arrest him. Then his files probably just got boxed up, and then retired Judge Pete pretended he was well. Him and the drug cartel have been pretending they're FBI, and they're not. They were talking about it yesterday, if not yesterday, the day before. These people have been pretending to be people. Nobody said anything about her before. They've been telling you that for over a year. And matter of fact, the two young officers that have worked the case since 18 have been telling everybody her family spoke highly of her before. June 23rd to July 4th of 21, in Pana, what are these people talking about? We interviewed her whole family before, and she's never heard anyone. And then March 23rd, 23, by the hair salon. They come in. We told these people to stay out of this. We interviewed her whole family a long time ago. She's never heard anyone, and nobody's ever seen anything. And they're yelling it out in Walmart. They've been around me since 18. See, this has got to the point of ridiculous. I was innocent of everything. See, that's where November 24, 22, they were talking about that Eric making fun of everybody for falling for this. At Mercy Medical, the nurse to the Canton officer. We all heard that Eric make fun of us for falling for this. Nobody better say a word to her again. And the lady Canton officer's like, well, the agent that bullied her into saying she was lying when she wasn't. And I told these men to stay out of this. None of this is funny. Nobody's ever said anything bad about her before. My whole family spoke highly of me. It would have made them an accessory, and they would have went to jail, knowing Dave was having me drugged, beat, and raped. See, they drugged up Eric on November 18, 22, had him go in Walmart 62 and confess to everything. And on April 15, 16, 23, Danny calls his dad and says, ask him what's going on. He said he had hired some guy named Pete on his own. There was only him up there. He didn't know why that guy confessed. That he had nothing to do with it. Pete has it set up she can't get any money. Pete doesn't have anything admissible. He also said he seen that agent up at that church asking her threats on her life. And he even spoke to him, said he was the only one from the agency looking into it on his own. Where I tried to tell that agent? November 6, 22, Trinity Gospel. An officer verified he seen him up there telling on me too, before I called him back. See, this is the point of, I wonder if they didn't listen to him badgering me. There's badgering laws. You have to take a victim or a witness or informant statement if you believe them or not and follow through. Or it's obstruction to justice and tampering with evidence. Department of Justice 1729. It's 5 to 20 years. Not dispensing money, withholding money, and not dispensing it is 5 to 30. See, there's protocols. He didn't follow them. And they had him dead to rights. I bet he's been in jail since 18. And they just boxed up all his files. I'm going to go ahead and upload this, but I bet, that I told you that young girl in March of 18, does he think it's funny bringing her here? Rams her body in the back of the booth behind us. Who is that? I don't know her. Well, her parents were one of this mean set of parents. And she walked by me in 21 by Wood Forest. As if you didn't know what was going on. I thought, where have you been? I haven't seen you since 18. I told you. I bet that's Jack. For him and Jack had a plan since March. I played that tape. We at Lenox, our house payment was what, $560 to $650? I pay more than that in rent now. He could have just gave me Lenox. My kids lived a mile away from me. The other one lived a couple miles. He could have just gave me that old house. Small amount of alimony and moved on. He made $110,000 a year. There was no need for any of this. Do you realize, for him to want his freedom, we're adults. He could have just came talk to me. I said that several times in tapes. We're adults. If you just didn't want me, we're adults. You could have just told me, Karen, I love you with all my heart. Made me cry and cry last night. You know what's sad? I actually loved him with all my heart. With every breath I took. I actually loved him. We were married 33 years. I actually loved him. Where these people run around making fun of me, this case was devastating at every level. I actually loved him. We had children together. We had a life together. He talked about being 109 and me 100 and looking at the lives we created. If he hated me so bad and wanted his freedom, why didn't he just come talk to me? Because that would have been human. Do you realize how much he had to hate me, to want to kill me? How much he hated me. And I'll tell you what, he didn't love his kids or his grandkids either. Him to hire, after that girl showed up, the human traffickers showed up. The ones that are taking everyone. You know, they took 27 children out of Cleveland. It was on the internet. These people kill, rape, and destroy. These people are accessory to killing 30 kids. They already took Lori's family member and laughed in her face. They tied her up and cut her in pieces. There was a Florida gang member that did that to an Uber driver. They took my house manager, Melissa's niece. They went after Kara. She got away. They took a girl at an ATM. They took a 15-year-old kid. One guy I went out to eat with, my friend on the police department, 2 hours away. They're using that case that agent opened with you to get those people. They found 35 people tied up and gagged in a railroad car. They were going to kill all of them. For him to join that kind of gang and to let those people hurt me. Do you realize how mentally sick he is? You don't want your wife, you just divorce her. You, under God's green earth, you don't do any of this. It's sick on Satan levels. Do you realize how bad he had to hate me? Why didn't he just tell me? He wanted everything. Do you know getting everything out of fear and duress is illegal? You can't get a house and jewelry under a threat of life. You go to jail for that. It's extortion. I'd like to know why they haven't arrested Dave. He confessed he hired some man to stalk me and beat, rape, and drug me. I was seen by the doctor for heart racing, throwing up, almost passing out, headache, vomiting, bruising, and a severe personal infection, and nobody knew what was wrong with me. You put date, rape, drug, beat, raped, under drugs. If it told you by the second week I almost passed out in front of the neighbor outside trying to mow the lawn. I could mow the lawn at Lennox like it was nothing. This whole thing's been my ex-husband and that retired judge running around with the drug cartel, the Detroit boys, the Kingsmen, the group from New York. Like that guy I went out to eat with. They're going to get ready and take care of this. And take care of this big human trafficking scam. And they're going to use that case that agent opened with you. And there was a retired judge in Texas involved, and they went down to question him. He killed himself. They know there's another judge in another state involved in this big human trafficking scam. 3 weeks later, they did an 800 people sweep. They need to arrest Dave and that retired judge. See, that's where I was talking to my daughter-in-law, Dixie. I was talking about Michelle, and I said, retired Judge Pete. And I went, oh, I knew about him. She said, Karen, it was ridiculous what they did to you. For him just to go out with someone else. You think, is someone going to put him in jail for his vile crimes? He's not my pimp. Dirty son of a bitch is not my pimp. To sex traffic videos of me and him in bed. To let that man drug, beat, and rape me. And human traffic me. Do you realize how much he had to hate me? How stupid was I? How stupid was it to love that man? I deserve so much better. I almost died to save my family. I let them go after me. to keep them out of it. That's why where that retired judge hacked into the protected custody case and sold people like this guy Vito at McDonald's. Found out what I lived through and he wanted to meet me. He thinks I'm amazing. I've had a lot of good people come up to me. And you know what they tell me? God's still there. Keep praying. Keep believing. He's still there. He'll come through with you. Sometimes you just wonder where he's at. You know he's there all the time. I turned this into the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice. You cannot open a case with money in diplomatic immunity and not pay the person. It almost cost me my life several times. And they got thousands of bad guys off of this. Most people get accommodations for it. Yeah. You know what I got? Diplomatic immunity. They still owe me that money, and nothing they have is admissible before. You can't hire a stalker. They had no right in my home. People in Hartville the other day, we all knew they didn't have a right in our home before. How could we fall for this? We found out they hired some guy to beat, drug, and rape her. They better do something about this. You think? You think? And then they were out off of Turquoise Street the other night. We found out they've hired a serial rapist to do it to her. That whole family's messed up in that human trafficking scam. That's where the one retired sheriff I was talking to, that Michelle has to have daddy issues. I thought gold digger, well, that too. And I said, what do you mean by daddy issues? That retired Judge Pete had to rape her to make her this evil. Well, Alex too, his son, that bashed me in the back of the head, stabbed me in the neck, and beat and raped me, and left Dave's at Coleman Dave's dresser on 12/21/18 in protected custody. They can use that case and get those people without me. There's so many crimes in that legally bugged house. It's ridiculous.